morning. I am doing this mostly to test the internet, and because this particular test I actually do have stuff that I can talk about, I won't delete it after I've uploaded it, so this might be the only one of the test series. So, I've been listening to the hubbub, the noise, if you will, and my Madagascar model is getting some good reviews. People are slightly more optimistic of it than I am. They start by seeing good things, and I very often immediately remark that about two-thirds to three-fourths of the sliders are good, doing good. They are going in the right direction. But there are a few indicators that we haven't been able to solve and don't have a plan to solve. We don't have any idea of how to solve it, let alone how to solve it well. There are a few, such as the carbon dioxide increase. We do have good ideas on how to solve that one. But there are equally many, perhaps up to a 10-point list of topics we don't actually know how to solve. One of these, for example, is the Gini coefficient, because I have not dealt with this indicator before in a simulator. I don't know how to battle it. How to make your designed society so that the rich do not gain rich, become richer while the poor become poorer. If your Gini coefficient is low, it means that the poor get rich and the rich get rich less than the poor if your Gini coefficient is low. If it is high, when the poor gains $1, the rich gains $100, despite what the other indicators of their worthiness for gaining anything at all are. So our tax reform made the country more efficient. We got a lot more out of the engine, like I imagined we would. One of the things we improved very well, for example, was male-female wage equality, the much famous 20-cent dilemma. That we got very good results in. We were at the lower end of Africa in terms of how well that number is going, and we are somewhere in the Nordic low, meaning that we have gained a lot of ground in a very short period of time. This is within 2, perhaps 3 years of starting this work, something that is completed. Then males will be getting paid the same as females for the same work hour. If you work 1 hour, your average wage will be the same as a male's worked 1 hour. Then if you have worked more or are more experienced, you naturally get more, but the average is the average. A lot of the things that fix the male-female inequality are stuff that males actually want, not females. Opening the work market to both genders doesn't influence it much, but making it so that if you take paternity leave from your work, it is not counted as a work hour, but rather a leave hour, and you are given plenty of paternity leave if you request it, meaning that your innate amount at the workplace due to your child being born will be equalized with the female. So if the female only takes 3 months off during the very last trimester birth and recovery period, which would be phenomenally fast, the male will take 3 months after the birth of the child to stay home to balance it out. Then they may work, for example, in switch shifts, but the same amount of work for both genders will be the expected norm. We do not like the idea of one side being able to tell the other that I bring all the money, therefore we do not like that. would like this issue to be solved. There are many indicators that are going well. Crime, road rate, fatality, GDP, taxation, debt, budget, environment, sports, culture, research, space research, education. Yeah, this seems to be streaming well. I'm going to be doing around 10 minutes, 10, 15, and then if it doesn't pause at any point, then I'm going to spend like maybe 2 hours on Facebook, and then I'm going to get back to doing the simulator. But a lot of the indicators in our country, to return to this point, are not doing well. One of them is the Gini coefficient. There are others. So amongst those other things are that our drug addiction rate is raising very fast because we stopped enforcing drugs as a police matter and started treating them as a healthcare issue. And our healthcare system is darn underfunded. So even by increasing the funding to them that used to go to the police to control drug addiction rates, we are still seeing a skyrocketing of drug addiction rates. But on the good side of that, we started at, I think it was one addict death per something like 45,000 people, something that was ridiculously low. And we're now at something like 38,000 people, even less than that. It's increased some amount, but it hasn't increased to be dramatic yet. Hunger, however, has. The number of people on low nutrition has decreased dramatically. But the people who aren't getting food really aren't getting food. So we've had an actual famine, which was also what was expected, because if we make it so that you can literally check out of any government business, we will see people who are in conditions where they possibly should be taken care of by somebody else, where they are to some degree checked out of their life, get to a point where they literally fail and they die. And that caused a pandemic of food. Agricultural growth has been steady, but it has dipped in the recent checkup. That is because we increased the price of converting forest land into farmland tremendously, meaning that we, for the most part, made it so that forests are growing, but farmland is decreasing. Because at the same time, we also did an education reform where every branch of education gets the same funding despite their industry branches being different sizes. So every branch gets to 6 out of 10 in its rating, and 5 out of 10, I think. And farming started at 6 out of 10, so we had to actually reduce its level. 99% of the indicators, I think farming may have been the only indicator that we had to reduce. Every other aspect was boosted, but farming was reduced during a time when food is running out. We are thinking of increasing carbon dioxide tax, decreasing deforestation tax, and because farming is actually in a bad state, making an exemption into a rule of all the facilities internally get funded the same despite how important they are to us, making sure that they can't essentially bribe us. So we might have to make an exception to that and just pay farming education to 10 out of 10 as a measure of controlling the food cost, because the damage left by the famine is in fact bigger than our yearly budget, and we can't in any feasible way correct it. So there's nothing we can do. We can still quite dramatically increase the farming GDP, but it will take some time. We are 1 year in. The COVID pandemic cost us 1,000 lives, while the famine cost us 45,000. Our pandemic control policy was such that there was no issue or dispute among any healthcare professional from either side that I've seen during your debate on whether or not it would actually work. Our policy was that nobody goes more than 1 kilometer from their house, except in the case of an emergency. There were no public event size mandates in the beginning, and no vaccinations. You could order it from the private sector, but government will only give you a tax bonus for you doing so, but won't actually order it for you. Then you read the instructions on how it's supposed to be injected, look online for a couple of helpful videos, and either do it yourself or walk to a healthcare clinic. Even walking to a clinic is not advised because it's not within 1 kilometer. There were a few police categories that didn't actually apply to our nation. One of them was illegal immigration control. And that didn't apply because we didn't have any immigrants for some reason, illegal or otherwise. There were other stuck sliders like that. So looking carefully at what doesn't actually manifest in your society for some reason, and then removing that particular enforcement group actually saved us a lot of money. I believe economic crimes and prime minister security are the only thing at 10 out of 10, I believe. We have discussed the nature of these voices before, or these noises that you hear sometimes around me. We have discussed them, and we have all taken appropriate steps. Prime Minister security is a 10 out of 10, and financial crimes are a 10 out of 10, but tax policing is light. Meaning that if you are, for example, a small company, you aren't expected to pay taxes. But if you are ExxonMobil and you're operating in our country and you don't pay taxes, then we will come down freakishly hard on you. But low levels of company and employment are not taxed. We don't care. We're not following you at all. Group hallucination, a function our society is aware of. You can actually make those with the electrical grid. If you are a smart group hallucinator, you will build an underground train network. Let's call it the metro and leave it at that. When you have metro, the slaves are happy. You know why? Because nobody ever comes to the metro unless they really need to. Meaning, no bullshit. No casual thing. You're just there. Somebody, puts on a Spider-Man suit. It's actually Spider-Man. That's, the metro. If Gandalf shows up, it's Gandalf. He has a point. Se oli vähän semmoinen juttu. Pehmentää aivokudasta. Se on just niin yksinkertaista. I'm trying. Thought going on. Okay, there seems to be no problems here. Net connection seems stable enough to do an actual podcast of state matters without being like in the dark, because if I'm doing the simulation and it suddenly pops dark, it'll be very bad. You know, a game you can do, but when you say I'm living this now and you force everybody who follows you actively to stop following you through the internet and actually crawl through the astral to you, it's very bad. So yeah, thinking. So what I'm gonna do in the next gameplay is, due to the fact that as soon as I had a deforestation tax, increasing it even tenfold has not increased the speed of afforestation or forest growth. The deforestation has been reducing at a steady rate throughout the year, meaning that even the initial one capped it, so we can actually decrease it and increase the agricultural production radically. I will do that. I will lower the tax on petroleum because that's stupid. And I will increase the tax on carbon dioxide production into the atmosphere. I will calculate how much the president's wage in a month is in actual euros using the exchange rate in the game and tie that to what I like as my personal wage after the high income tax bracket income. And I will probably increase minimum social and minimum wage and look at perhaps decreasing the highest wages a little bit because they are far above GDP per capita. The government worker makes something on the order of 6 times more than the average worker that is not conductive. And I will probably only renovate houses and play for around 2 months. And I will reduce the debt perhaps until the next debt payment comes in. That seems likely. Okay, so this seems stable, thank you.